Chris Scalzer here with...
I'm David Pumpkins! I'm being very topical.
It's good. It's good. We got to hook the kids. I like that. And on this just simply wonderful episode of The First Run, Matt and I are going to discuss Ouija. I've always said Ouija. Is it Ouija, technically?
I think it may be Ouija, technically, but I prefer Ouija as well, so that's what we're going with.
We're going to have the interns contact Hasbro. But Ouija 2, or I should say, actually, let's drop the 2. Ouija Origin of Evil, because I think partly we want you to forget that there was an original film. We're going to discuss that. I'm going to tell you my thoughts on Jack Reacher, Never Go Back. We'll tell you what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD, right? But Matt, there's even more. Our horror marathon continues with the anthology film Minutes Past Midnight. And Matt, you and I both love horror anthology films, but we've been pretty disappointed as of late. So we'll see if maybe that's going to turn around now. I'll share also my thoughts on the season premiere of The Walking Dead. That's episode 1 of season 7. And then finally, it's going to be our 5 favorite openings to a horror film. So that's a lot to get to. So let's jump into all this, Matt, and let's hear a clip from Ouija Origin of Evil, Part 2, the sequel. That's a prequel.
Want to hear something cool?
Sure.
Do you know what it feels like to be strangled to death? First, you feel the pressure in your throat. Your eyes water. And you start to taste something very, very sour in your mouth. Then, it's like someone lights a match right in the middle of your chest. And that fire grows. It fills your lungs and your throat, and all the way behind your eyes. And finally, that fire turns to ice. Like pins and needles of ice are sticking into your fingers, your toes, your arms. You see stars, then darkness. And the last thing you feel is cold. Good night, Romeo.
Matt, so I have a confession for you. I don't know if this really counts as a confession, but it's something that you did not know that I'm telling you now. So I think technically that's true.
Okay.
I have not seen the first Ouija film.
Yeah, neither have I. So that we are partners in that confession.
All right. So from what I understand, it is not exceptionally well regarded, right? It's not considered a very good film, perhaps initially just a cash-in. Hasbro, desperate to expand their gaming database, just helped, basically created this film. It has a robust, wait for it, 7% on Rotten Tomatoes, the original film. Now, let me ask you, Matt, is there a greater turnaround in Rotten Tomatoes score history? Because let me tell you something, Ouija Origin of Evil, 81.
Wow, that is crazy. I know I was blown away that this thing is certified fresh, for God's sakes. Yeah, I mean that's why I don't think we intended initially to catch this film for the main film, but just from the reviews and the buzz, I thought, well, shit, we got to go see this.
Thanks for the profanity.
You're welcome. It's Halloween, dude. It's Halloween. Let's just throw it all out.
It's Halloween. All right, so should I be dressed as a sexy witch now? What do you mean? What's things that don't really apply to Halloween?
You should be a b-boy skeleton. That's what you should be doing. I'm very disappointed you're not in a costume right now. And yeah, if we're gonna talk about gore and scary stuff, we can swear. Kids swear.
All right, the cool ones.
Right.
All right, Matt. So are you glad we checked out Ouija 2 Origin of Evil? Is it a... What do you think? Yeah, let's start with that. What are your thoughts on Ouija 2? A film that initially nobody demanded to see.
That's true. You know what? Like I said, I haven't seen the first one, so I can't tell you how much of a turnaround this is. But for a PG-13 horror movie with a lot of jump scares, it's not bad. I mean, the acting is decent, especially the kid actors, which is always an iffy topic when you get into these types of films. You know, the visuals, while they're not gory, a lot of them are very creepy. They do a good job of setting up suspense and atmosphere, and it moves quickly. I mean, I wasn't bored at any time in this film. So yeah, I think they did an admirable job with what they had. I mean, they certainly polished the hell out of this turd. That's for sure.
Listen, I think this had some great little. You're right about. I think it has some. Occasionally has some cheap scares in it, right? But as overall, I think the performances are all earnest. I just really enjoyed it. And I got to tell you, Matt, Creepy Kids is right up there for me with clowns. Maybe even surpassing the clowns thing. Having a young creepy kid, like let me tell you, I think that may be rooted in stuff like The Orphanage, which I think for me is the pinnacle of creepy kid films. But so can I tell you, Henry Thomas? It's nice to see Henry Thomas getting some work.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was happy to see him. I was like, hey, it's that guy. I don't know his name, but I know your face. I can't.
It's a kid from E.T.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I didn't know his name. But I knew it was Elliot. That's for sure.
So I got to say, I think he has a future as kind of the kindly, slightly sexually repressed exorcist. I think that this may be his role. Maybe he's a little typecast, but I think that I could see unfortunately, he doesn't make it out. Spoiler. Well, we don't know that for absolute sure, right? Maybe he will.
Maybe he'll. No, he didn't make it out. No
okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm glad he's found his niche. I mean, it could be worse. Sexually repressed exorcist who's, that's a good niche to fill.
Yeah,
we need more of those in film.
We do. So, yeah, I don't know. And one thing I was a little concerned about, and I want to get your opinion on this: the backstory of and let's clarify. Maybe I'm handicapped because I haven't seen the original film, and this is a prequel. This film is set in the 70s, okay? And let me tell you, good job on the set design. Everything feels very authentic, right? It feels like we're watching something from the 70s. So they did a good job with that. You know, we're talking clothes, cars, all that kind of stuff.
And Chris, it's set in the 60s, okay?
Is it the 60s?
Yeah, because in the beginning of the film, the kids are talking about how they're never going to go to the moon. So it's obviously before the moon landing.
Well, that never actually happened, Matt. So I don't know what.
Well, that's true. Well, that's before Stanley Kubrick faked it in 1969.
Thank you. I don't know why people have such trouble with that. There was a Buzz Aldrin that punched somebody in the face once that said we never went to the moon.
I hope that's true. That sounds like something some guy named Buzz would actually do.
I believe Buzz is the most hardcore of the group, though. So, all right. So thank you. So clearly, I'm an idiot. Either way, it felt authentic to the stick. You're right, because I'm thinking about the cars now. You're entirely right. All right. My point is, I was concerned initially about the reveal as to the origins of the evil, if I may. All right, because it does kind of come out of nowhere. What's going on in that house and why. And but you know what? I think it handles it rather deftly. I had no problems with it I'm like, what does this? So as the film's unrolling here, I'm like, does this work? Does this really make any sense? I'm like, yeah, all right, yeah, it's fine. And it didn't feel glaring. It didn't feel garish to me. In fact, I think it added a dimension of horror to the film that the movie didn't maybe initially have. It is more scares and makeup and computer effects, particularly with our poor young star. Lulu Wilson, I believe, plays Doris. So yeah, I don't know. So I was impressed with that. And I thought it worked rather well. What did you think about the little reveal there?
Yeah, I thought it worked pretty good. I mean, considering the kind of things that you would anticipate you would get in these type of films, like, you know, it was a Satanist's house, or because they've been dabbling, stuff has kind of come to them. I thought it was I thought it was gruesome, and you know, it did add a lot of kind of cringe to the whole thing, even though it was all just kind of explained and you saw a little bit of the aftermath with the bones and stuff. It's, you know, it was pretty gross, and it was I thought it was a clever way of doing it.
Yeah, I agree. My initial thought was going to be that the board opened up some type of portal. So the fact that it didn't go that way, I thought was fine. One thing, though, I don't know if this is really... I was anticipating more of an origin of the Ouija board and how it became to be this haunted thing. But I guess it's more... Here's where we're handicapped. I'm wondering if the next film actually occurs in the same house, if that's what the issue is, the original film.
Yeah. Are we going to have to actually go watch this atrocity? Is one of us going to have to play rock, paper, scissors and watch this thing and report back as to how this ties together? Because I'm kind of curious at this point.
I think that's a good idea. Unfortunately, to kind of it'd be good to tie up that loose end. But either way,
one thing we hate at the first run is hanging chads. That's for sure.
That's right. Ooh, timely. So it's So overall, I got to admit, man, I was impressed. It sets out what it tries to do, and it does a great job of doing it. Right? There's not a lot of depth into it. There's not a lot of angst or drama, but it's a very successful little horror film. So I was impressed. I enjoyed it a lot more than I anticipated that I would. So if I had to give this sucker a grade, Matt, I would probably go B plus, maybe even. It was light, airy, and I enjoy it. It was fun in this scary kind of way.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I would give it a B as well. I think with this being Halloween weekend, Halloween on Monday, if you want to go out and watch a scary movie, or if you've got kids who are 13, 14, 15 who are into this kind of stuff, and it's they want to go see a PG-13 horror movie, this is a good one. I mean, this is a good one to it'll scare you, and it'll be fun to watch, and I think it's definitely good for the season.
Definitely. It's really the only one that's out, too, that I'm looking at. You get this and Boo, a Madea Halloween, right?
Yeah.
And we'll have Jack Reacher, which I'll talk about shortly, which in some ways is terrifying. But that's about it. So, interesting. Wow, that's kind of slim pickings for a Halloween season. I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, it's very slim pickings for a Halloween season. I am surprised as well.
I'm sure we'll get a Paranormal Activity or a Saw film again at some point soon. So don't worry, everybody.
Yeah. That'll be timely as well. They'll be releasing it around Thanksgiving or something.
I meant more next year, but
yeah.
Sure.
Okay, sure. Okay, yeah.
All right. If you had a chance to see Ouija, Origin of Evil, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, I want to play a little clip now from our next film, because let me tell you, there was a lot of hoopla and hubbaloo and outroar, if you will. Not Ben Affleck, Batfleck uproar, or Daniel Craig, James Bond uproar, or I could do it all day. But there were some people concerned with the fact that Tom Cruise had been cast as Jack Reacher, because Cruise is a smaller man. He's a man of smaller stature. And Jack Reacher is supposed to be this big, kind of hulking, badass kind of guy, which Tom Cruise is. So anyway, the first film came around, and I got to tell you, I enjoyed it. It was maybe it fell apart a little bit at the end, but I think they did a really great job of just establishing the character in this universe. I think Werner Herzog as your villain, you can't really go wrong. So when they announced that they were going to make a sequel, I was optimistic. I thought, all right, good. Here's our opportunity to fix the things that didn't work with the first film. And we'll talk about all that after this clip.
You're a legend.
Folks wonder why you left.
Purple Heart, Silver Star.
There's this big dent in the desk. People say you made it with someone's HUD.
Jack Reacher for Major Turner.
Major Turner's been arrested.
On what charge?
Espionage.
He's been set up. How much does Reacher know?
How's it going?
I don't like being followed.
You think you're invulnerable.
That's right. Maybe I rip your arm off and beat you to death with it. I'm sorry about this.
Reacher?
He's here to kill you.
My men were shot by one of our own. This is bigger than I imagined. You ever lose anyone on your watch, Reacher?
You're a dead man. You think you're above the law. But I'm not the law. So you should start running, because I'm going to start hunting. And when I find you, I'm going to kill you all. It's a haircut. All you guys go to the same barber?
All right, Matt, you opened the door, so here we go. What the absolute fuck? All right, let me tell you something. I enjoyed the first film, just like I said in the little opening a few moments ago. And what do we do here? So we just do a straight-to-cable sequel of Jack. You could even have taken Tom Cruise out of this and recast him with somebody else. I don't know. It's somebody from the CW. Whatever. Matt, I cannot believe how disappointed I was in this film. Everything in this thing is diminished. All right, everything. Even Cruise's performance as Reacher is not as interesting. Part of the issue was that for the first film, Matt, is one of the successes was this kind of mystery as to who Jack Reacher is. And I get the fact that we solved that a little bit in the first film, but that whole air is gone from this film. All right. Like one of the great moments of the original is this bad guy is asking for Jack Reacher, and everybody's like, well, who's Jack Reacher? How do we find him? All right. And then there's a knock at the door. There's a Jack Reacher here to see you. That kind of a thing, there's none of that kind of impact in this film whatsoever. And it just drives me crazy because this film really could have fixed the narrative issues and some of the problems with the first film. As I said previously, the ending of the film kind of just peters out. It doesn't really have the same visceral impact that the first 2/3 of the film does. Possibly it's because of who one of our villains were in the original film. Matt, do you remember who that was? Did you see the original Jack Reacher film?
I did, but I'm ashamed to admit that there's something weird about most non-sci-fi related Tom Cruise is that I literally forget everything about it after like a month. Like Night and Day, I couldn't tell you what happened in that movie. This movie, I can't tell you what happened in this movie either. So I'm sorry.
I think what happened was they had Werner Herzog, who is a presence in anything he's in, who's also recently said he'd love to play a Bond villain. And whatever we need to do to make that happen, we need to make that happen. But he was countered by his right-hand man being Captain Personality himself, Jay Courtney. So there was that struggle. All right. Either way. And, of course, there's this weird thing, too, with Robert Duvall that doesn't really work. So I was all excited. Maybe we can fix everything in the first film. But all we did, Matt, was nail the coffin shut. I'm done. I don't need to see another Reacher film. You have an exceptionally weak villain. It's just a lazy, low-rent script. The story isn't that interesting. We've seen it a dozen times. It doesn't have any of the swagger that the first film does. One of the most interesting things, too, about the first film, Matt, is it has this heft to it, right? Not even in the action and the violence, but the car chase scenes feel alive and real. I think it's just the roar of the engine and how Christopher McQuarrie shot how the first film was shot. This one is actually directed by Edward Zwick, who gave us Glory, a fantastic film, but a man who's delivered nothing but crap for like a decade, if not 2 decades now. It's just very disappointing, man. It had none of the urgency of the first film, and it was just. I was just disappointed every single time throughout. Every move, every decision, every scene, I was just waiting for this thing to end. And it really bothered me because I like the first one so much. So that's it, Matt. There's going to be no more Jack Reacher films after this. I don't.
It burned you one too many times?
If they could get the right people involved and do it, then I would be interested, I guess. I'm just talking financially. The thing just made back its budget today, this week.
Right,
or whatever. Yeah. But that's not going to be enough because of advertising. I don't know if Blu-ray sales are going to make it go far enough where they're going to warrant a sequel. The reviews for this thing were abysmal. So it's over. I don't know. 38% on Rotten Tomatoes, and deservedly so. It's just, I hate when stuff like this happens because they could have fixed it. They could have made it right. And instead...
You're so passionate and angry about this. I haven't seen you like this in a while.
I am, because it could have been something. I like the concept, right, of the MP who just walks away and he wanders the earth getting into adventures like Kane and Kung Fu. And I think that I just conceptually I liked it. I didn't so much have an issue with Cruise being cast in the role. I went back and forth with it, but I was okay with it, because you need to have a big star to carry the film. But to absolutely squander any potential with this thing that you could. I mean, the villain is weak. It's not. It's let down. So Jack Reacher, you get a D from me.
Whoa.
I am not pleased.
Wow. It's an angry D. A very angry D that Chris has given to Jack Reacher right now.
It's because because they could have fixed the stuff they did wrong, and with the stuff they got right the first time, they just pissed all over it. So, if you had a chance to see Jack Reacher, never go back. And let me tell you something, never go back. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. I am clever. I came up with that on the fly.
Yeah, you did.
All right, man, let's talk about what's coming up on Blu-ray and DVD this upcoming Tuesday, November 1st. Oh, here's something else that gets me angry. You ready? Paramount. What the hell is wrong with you? I am so tired of this S. All right? Because I don't like to swear. Shit. Paramount is giving us Star Trek Beyond on Blu-ray. And what are they doing? They're doing it again, Matt. They're separating all of the special features. So you have to collect them all. You have to go to Best Buy to get something, Target to get something else, Walmart to get something else. And you know what's going to happen in a year, Matt? They're going to release another compendium where they're going to gather everything onto one disc again. It's cheap, Paramount, and I don't like it.
Well, you know what? If people would watch live TV and would go to the movies, maybe they wouldn't do this kind of stuff. Not that I'm really excusing it, but still, it's our own fault.
Are you making excuses for the Paramount shills?
I'm just trying to keep your anger level high right now because I'm enjoying it. So whatever I can do to push your buttons, I'm going to do it. So
here's what you want to get. You're going to want to get the Target one, all right? Now, I'm not really up on which one's which, but because I was so angry. Last time when they did this, I spiked out everything to give you the best informed information, which is a stupid thing to say, informed information. But that's what happens, Matt, when I get mad. So Target has an exclusive bonus disc, I think with about additional 30 minutes of features that you can't get anywhere else. So it has the basic stuff, which is some featurettes, a few deleted scenes, nothing much. But you also get some collectible cards, which are interesting. They look fine. They look kind of cool. And you get the whole bonus disc from Target and some exclusive packaging. And what I think the key for this is you get the, though I think you get it from all the releases, one of the big things is the iTunes file, because that's where you get the expanded commentary by James Wan. That's one of the things that's pulling me in, because I really want to watch that. Walmart comes with 3 little ships in a deluxe packaging, so little like Matchbox or Hot Wheels kind of ships from the series. Best Buy has a Steelbook. Amazon has an exclusive set too with an Enterprise statue, but it's not that big, Matt. We're talking probably 6-7 inches. I think 6 inches is normal from what I understand. So deleted scenes, some behind the scenes featurettes, as I said. Yeah. So listen, a gag reel. Listen, I went out on a limb here, man. I remember saying clearly that this was my favorite of the Kelvin universe. I think this was the most fun and the most successful out of the Kelvin timeline, I guess is what I should say. The relaunch series. Where did you come down?
Yeah, I think I still might prefer the first one better. But I did enjoy this. It's definitely a step in the right direction from Into Darkness. And out of all of those sets you listed, I think I'm gonna go with the one with the Matchbox cars. That sounds pretty fun. I want Matchbox car ships. I love Star Trek ships.
I know, me too. I do want to get an Enterprise ship, but I want to get that extra content, I guess, from Target. Plus, I like the packaging and the cards look pretty cool. A movie we've discussed seeing here at some point we're going to have to, Matt, is Imperium. This is where Harry Potter hides his wand and goes undercover as a white supremacist and infiltrates a gang. And I'm never going to stop making those jokes. I apologize, Daniel Radcliffe. No matter how good you get, and you've been good and stuff lately, I owe you that. So congratulations. Like Swiss Army Man, good on you.
Yeah, that was a good film.
That was when I've said that he shed the Harry Potter thing for me. After that, I thought he was fantastic in that. So Imperium's coming with a commentary by the writer-director Daniel Ragusis and the writer Michael German, or Erman. And some behind-the-scenes featurettes as well. Bad Moms. It includes a gag reel, cast and mom interviews. Matt, it's an outrageous comedy for the writers of The Hangover. Full stop. Let's move on.
Wait, no, did you see this? Did you see Bad Moms? I heard it was pretty good.
No, because writers of The Hangover, listen, the first one's not that good. And then they had the second one, which was horrible. The second one. And the third one is listen, we heard you. We get that the second one wasn't that good. So we're going to make a better film in the third one and give you what you really want. And you know what? It was even worse.
I didn't even see the third one. I was so mad at the second one. I didn't even watch it.
I'm just trying to bring a little passion. Listen, after last week's debacle, if you listen to last week's show, it was tepid to begin with, right? Mm-hmm. I was thinking C+ effort on my part last week. Mm-hmm. And then, maybe thankfully, there were technical issues, and we lost almost the entire last segment of the show, and the opening was shot too. So let's hope that doesn't happen here.
The universe was trying to tell us something. We knew it can't all be A shows, okay? They all can't be classics of the podcast genre. So
that's true.
That was our C+ episode for the year. And our C+ is probably still better than most people's A-, if I'm being honest.
I was say with the Pixies, that's always one of my favorite. Just to go on a tangent, the Pixies, people consider their worst album to be either Bossa Nova or Trompe Man, even though they're both still classics. Their worst albums are better than some musicians' entire output.
It's true. I like Bossa Nova. Bossa Nova is pretty good.
I love it too because of the surf angle.
Yeah.
Though I don't know if we can really say that about the last couple albums. I got the newest one, Head Carrier. I haven't really gotten into it yet, so I'm curious to see what I got. I don't know. The previous one though, Indie Cindy.
Not a fan. I didn't listen to it because you said it wasn't great, so I didn't go out and get it.
It's okay, but it's not a Pixies album. It's a Frank Black album with the Pixies musicians.
Okay. Fair enough.
We'll see if Head Carrier is any better. Listen, I love Frank Black. I love that man and everything he does. You just have to listen to it. And it's not fair, too. They're a different band. Like, that other stuff is 20, 30 years old, right? So you can't really... It's just they grow up different. Things change. So that's why I don't get upset about it. I'm just happy to have a new Pixies record. It doesn't tarnish the original set of albums. They're still ultimate classics.
Yeah, Kim, nobody's ruining your legacy. Why don't you just come back to the band? Seriously.
I know, really. Get over yourself. And anybody who says it's not the Pixies of Kim Deal, you have no idea what you're talking about. Kim Deal wrote like 4 songs the entire time that made any of the albums. Charles, that's his real name. Charles wrote all the music in all the songs. That's all Charles. So get over yourselves. Not that Kim's a bad person. It's just she's not.
No, we like Kim, but your excuses are dumb. Just say you don't want to come back and you don't like the Indians people. That's fine. Speaking
of music, Give Me Danger is supposed to come out this weekend. Friday. It came out today or yesterday. I just got to find out where it's playing, which is the Jim Jarmusch's documentary on the Stooges. You want to talk about a classic band that's underrated? Oh, the Stooges. Those first 3 albums, especially Raw Power.
Raw Power is amazing.
That thing is that's dangerous if you listen to it. You know, So okay, there you go. What was I talking about? My Blind Brother. It's a film from Nick Kroll, Adam Scott, and Jenny Slate. If you're a fan of the whole Comedy Bang Bang thing, they're part of that whole group, right? So Bill has always lived in the shadow of his overachieving brother Robbie, an arrogant athlete, kind of reminds me of you, Matt, and a local celebrity who happens to be blind. Well, except for that part. After years of thanklessly helping Robbie achieve one goal after another, Bill finally catches a break when he finds a connection with the charming Rose, who I believe is our Jenny Slate, who is dealing with her own crisis. But when Rose starts dating Robbie, Bill must decide if he can finally put his own happiness over his brother's and compete for the ultimate prize, which I'm assuming is love or not being blind. Matt, that's mean. Holy crap. That's like the meanest thing I've ever said.
We are just on a roll right now. We are filled with evil from Halloween and the Ouija board and our swearing. Let's just roll with it. We've gotten this far.
And Edward Zwick and Jack Reacher.
That's right.
I'm not a mean person. I apologize, everybody. I retract that. I was just... Marvel Animated Universe continues, Matt. I'll be able to get those words out with Batman Return of the Caped Crusaders. This is the animated 60s sequel. So this is in the style. Adam West and Burt Ward actually voiced it as well.
Wow.
So if you're a fan of that, you can check that out, Return of the Caped Crusaders. You get it from Best Buy. You get a graphic novel as well. Target gives you a steelbook. Your straight to DVD pick of the week, Matt, is not something super crazy. It's just timely. So I thought I'd share it with you. Shout Factory. For reasons unknown, all I can think of is Cashin is releasing the Doctor Strange pilot from, I'm thinking maybe the 70s? It's got to be 70s. I think it's 70s. I watched the trailer. Jessica Walters, Mallory Archer herself, plays Morgan Le Fay. Or Mrs. Bloom, right? It depends on whatever cultural reference you prefer.
We're going through the rest of development. Bluth, yes.
Bluth. Sorry, Bloom. That was wrong with me. So a modern hospital may seem worlds apart, Matt, from the days of ancient sorcerers. Well, maybe not. But for psychiatrists, he's a psychiatrist in this, Stephen Strange, and his patient, Clea Lake, Eddie Benton of Sledgehammer. That's another timely reference.
Oh, wow.
This is where those worlds collide, and the nightmare begins. Nothing Stephen Strange learned in medical school can prepare him for the attack by an evil sorceress from the 4th dimension. Morgan Le Fay, Jessica Walter, a villainess who plans an invasion of imaginable evil on Earth. Chosen by an ancient guardian of the spirit world to learn the mystic arts to defeat Morgan and safeguard the Earth, Stephen Strange must take the place of the Earth's last sorcerer. Come along for a fantastic adventure into the 4th dimension with Doctor Strange, Strange.
Woo. That sounds fantastic.
You're gonna watch. Go ahead.
I said I don't know if I agree with the fact that he's not a surgeon.
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, that is the whole thing.
You got to watch the trailer, Matt. It is delightful.
All right, well, I look forward to it.
You can go on Amazon and it's there. I'm sure it's on Shout Factory's website as well. It is. I swear to God, every time I was watching it, I was waiting for a porn film to break out.
Well, then how can I not go check this out? I'll have to go see this.
Just look at the guy and you'll be like, oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Nice stash.
Totes.
So here's an important question, though. Is Sledgehammer on DVD or streaming anywhere? Because I have not seen that show since I was however old, 7, 8 years old.
Yeah, you can get. It may be out of print now, but the DVDs were available. You can get them as seasons or as a whole set.
All right, I'll have to go track that down.
I loved that show when I was a kid. David Rash was great in that thing. I don't remember. It's probably horrible, Matt, but I remember thinking it was hilarious when I was a kid watching that thing.
Oh, I completely know it's horrible. I just remember. Yes, I remember thinking it was hilarious when I was a kid, but I know. Just from what I can remember, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be awful. Let's ruin another memory.
All right, Matt, I want to share. Oh, do you have a streaming pick of the week for us?
Yeah. So in honor of Halloween, in our Halloween episode, scanning through Netflix, I decided to pick a little film that you may have heard of, Chris. I don't know if a lot of people have seen it. It's called Jaws by this guy, Steven Spielberg. Have you heard of Senor Spielberg?
Not. I've heard of Spielberg.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes. Well, Mexico's greatest director. But yeah, this is basically the story of a great white shark terrorizing a New England seaside resort town, and it's really just a classic of understated suspense. And I mean, granted, we all know the story that the reason Spielberg did it that way is because the shark looked fake, so he had to kind of hide everything. But him doing that really makes the film pop off and work. And for all the stuff that's out there, slashers, ghosts, whatever you believe, this is something that happens every summer. Somebody gets eaten by a shark, and this is why you should stay away from the ocean. It's bad for you. The beach sucks. Don't go near it. This is why I don't. Yeah, this is why I do not either. So yeah, you should definitely check it out if you haven't seen it. Even if you have seen it, which is probably 90% of the world, watch it again anyway. It's still a great movie. Yeah,
it is fantastic. I got to tell you, it is an all-time classic. So good on you, Matt. All right, I want to share my thoughts. I know you haven't had a chance to see it yet, but you know what happens, so we'll still talk about it. Season 7, episode 1 of The Walking Dead. I was initially thinking we could do a first run focus on this like we did with Preacher, but I don't think I want to now because I might be close to done with this show. And it's not because of the death of Glenn. It's not that. It's what is this show doing? Where's it going? All we do, Matt, is week after week, season after season. It's unimaginable horror, a little bit of hope, and then something horrible happens again. Repeat. Right? We're not going anywhere. We're not doing anything. We're just redoing the same thing every season now. And there's just not. Listen, I thought I nailed this too. It's funny because, all right, so if you're not familiar, the season ended right with Negan, one of the ultimate badasses in the comic series. And I haven't read the comics, Matt, but you have, correct?
Yeah, I haven't read really past the Negan arc. So I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that's happened that I've read synopses on, but I haven't read the actual comics themselves.
Okay, well, I was convinced that Abraham was going down because he was a likable enough character, had been around long enough that I think, well, they're going to kill anybody. It's probably going to be Abraham. I can't see them taking out. Oh wow, what's Glenn's wife again? Her name? Damn it, Maggie. I can't see them taking out Maggie and the kid with her being pregnant. I just don't see them going that far. But you know what? Now, Matt, I don't know. I don't know anymore. They do Abraham. And this is where the show, I think, is interesting, but chickens out. All right? So, because if you're not familiar, in the comic series, right, at issue 100, Negan kills Glenn. That's right out of the comics.
You're correct, yes.
And basically the way it happens in the show. So I thought, but I saw Abraham's going down. So there's a little bit of misdirection because you think, all right, well, it's not going to be Glenn, even though they said clearly Glenn was going to get taken out earlier last season, right? When the whole thing where he gets surrounded by the zombies, but he hides under the dumpster, which still, and then they drag that out for like 3 episodes. And they drag this out as well. We got what, Matt, 20 minutes in before we see who Negan takes out? I really think they were pushing it. I don't know if they dial tested it. How long can we drag this out before people just turn off the channel?
Like Robert Kirkman sitting in the back with a stopwatch waiting to see when the annoyance sets in.
So, but I think, so what happens then is Glenn gets all upset. He gets up and he punches Negan. And what does Negan do? He kills Glenn, which makes no sense. I would think his reaction would be to kill Daryl. But you can't do that because I think there's two.
Everybody loves Daryl.
There's 2 untouchables in this show. It's Rick and Daryl. Everybody else can get taken out. So then that, for me, that cheapens Glenn's death even more. And you know what, Matt? It's just nasty. It's mean. It's disgusting. Listen, I love my gore. I will watch the most screwed up Italian horror film you can give me, right? But for this one, it was just mean. It served no purpose except to show you how far that AMC or the show is willing to go in its gore. And then is this next thing that, Matt, where Rick, Negan's still not convinced that Rick's going to fall in line. So he basically is about to force Rick himself to cut off Coral's arm. Like right at the this part here, for the people listening at home. Right in the forearm, as they say in medical places.
That front part.
As they say in England, at hospital. Mm-hmm. So and of course, Negan pulls him back right before he has to do it, but he's going to do it. And that's how he gets Rick's submission. Now, here's the thing. That is the most interesting thing, and the only thing that the thing may work is the fact that Rick is broken. And if he truly is, fine. And I think that may be worth enough to keep me going, to see how that all unfolds. But I don't know, Matt. I'm really struggling with this show now because I don't know what we're doing. I don't know where we're going, and I don't see the point anymore. I don't see the point. There's another scene, too, where Negan takes Rick on a ride. This is prior to him potentially cutting off Coral's. And I say it because that's how Rick says it. Coral! Cutting off his forearm. But they take him on a ride into this big zombie-infested area, and Negan throws an axe out and says, "Go get my axe." And for somehow the axe ends up on the roof of the van, the RV thing that they were driving in. I don't quite sure understand how that happened. I don't know if that's just poor direction, poor shooting. I don't know. That was weird. I still can't wrap my head around that part of it. But yeah, so that was another issue I had with it. I just don't know, Matt. I don't know where we're going. I don't see the point anymore.
But later in the season, is there going to be a guy with a pet tiger who shows up? So at least there's something.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, there's a guy with a giant pet tiger.
Oh, I'm hooked.
Yeah, there you go. Now you're going to keep watching.
Listen, although I'm going to keep watching. I'm going to finish this season out, probably. But if this is where we're going, this is what's going to continue. I don't know. I just don't see the point anymore.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. Walking Dead, the comics, it seems to be going on forever, and I guess Kirkman's going to keep doing it. This is one of the things I don't agree about Kirkman. His stories, I like comic guys who have a beginning, middle, and end to their stories. They actually have like a cohesive, they've thought it out story.
Starman, Why the Last Man?
Yeah, Why the Last Man? Yeah, Brian K. Vaughan is a perfect example. Why the Last Man, Saga, Ex Machina. If you haven't read Saga, good stuff. But Kirkman doesn't do that. He just keeps writing, he keeps making stuff up, and it just keeps getting more and more ridiculous. Now, he says he's got an ending for both the comic and the TV show planned out, and that they're different. So I do kind of want to see how this plays out. But I mean, you're right. If this continues the way it's going, it'll be one of these things where I'm going to stop watching, and when they finally announce it's the last season, then I'll go back and watch it just to see how he ends this thing, So, I mean, that's I'm kind of right there with you, but I mean, you're right. I'm going to watch. I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to go, the DVR will be on. I'll be like, oh, there's The Walking Dead. All right, I got nothing else. Let's watch that, I guess. So,
right.
So
Luckily, I was able to cleanse my palate later in the week with another episode of The Flash, though I'm not quite sure where that show's going this season either.
Yeah, I enjoy The Flash, but man, they've kind of dug themselves into a weird hole, and I don't know what they're going to do.
What do you think about the fact that we do basically one episode of Flashpoint?
Mm-hmm.
I thought this was going to be like a season long, maybe at least a half a season thing, but no, we got like one episode of it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see both. I can see both sides. I think a lot of people who more casual fans are I don't think they're going to be into that whole different timeline, and then they build up stakes and people get invested in stuff, and then oops, now Barry's reversed it. Now it's all back to sort of the way it was. I think if they were going to go back to that, I would just rather they just kind of clean break, do it, and also kind of set up the fact, okay, we're not going to really be doing time travel anymore because it screws everything up, and let's just stop worrying about that, which I think is a smart move. That
might be too, but I would have been interested to see a whole season of Flashpoint just to see how it all. That would have been, I think, an interesting idea.
Yeah,
they could even potentially. I wonder if they could have done Batman's dad in that if they went that route. All the stuff they could have incorporated, because if the CW's got Supergirl's got Superman now.
I know. So I think is all bets off?
Yeah,
we're gonna see a Batman or maybe a Green Lantern. Man, I would be very excited for any of those kinds of things, even if they were just showing up for cameos.
Yeah, I don't see why you couldn't. I mean, they firmly established these are all alternate timelines, or all it's part of the multiverse, right? So why not? Why not?
Yeah. I'm with it. I'm with you.
All right. So I'm curious what your thoughts were on Walking Dead on the season premiere. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, let's take a break here and let's hear.
Is that a pregnant telling sigh as you go into this announcement here?
No, I'm just trying to bring down the anger, or maybe it's just gonna. Maybe I'm just working it back up again.
No, so let's keep it going, dude. I know it's tiring, but you gotta hold on to that. Hold on to that little ball of rage and just nurse it in your chest.
Our horror marathon continues with a discussion of the anthology film Minutes Past Midnight. We'll be right back.
I'll never forget the first time I saw her. It was love at first sight. It felt like something out of an old-fashioned romantic comedy. Well, more or less.
Christ, it's like peeling apart a grilled cheese sandwich.
Matt, anthology films are a unique brand to horror, tend to be underwhelming. They tend to not really deliver, right? True. Maybe you'll find a gem or two, but for the most part, they don't really pan out. Now, I think the first VHS was pretty successful. The second one, as we discussed the other week, with the
guy with the cults and the guy directed by the guy who did The Raid,
Now we have Minutes Past Midnight, which is part of a Canadian series called Little Terrors. And it's a short horror film festival they have every year, and they've put some together for this film, Minutes Past Midnight. Matt, I've been talking a lot, so why don't you tell us first your thoughts, and we can go through each little short if you'd like. Minutes Past Midnight, anthology films for horror fans. We are Yoda. I talk like not really. What are your thoughts?
So I will say this. This is our second anthology for our little marathon here. First one being Tales from Halloween. And this, even though it is a mixed bag, is head and shoulders better than Tales from Halloween, in my opinion. I would agree. Tales from Halloween was very, very disappointing and underwhelming. This, I thought, granted, not every one of them worked. Some of them were ridiculous, and unfortunately some of the worst ones, in my opinion, were some of the longest ones, but the ones that did work I thought were pretty effective. I don't know if you felt the same way.
I agree entirely. Some of them I think were absolutely great. Matt, I absolutely adored. I letter graded every one of them. And I said A+ for me is The Mill at Calder's End. I was entranced by that thing. This is the stop motion animation one that's very Lovecraftian about the guy who has the family curse and he goes back to this old rundown castle cave thing. I don't know. But there's the narration for this is fantastic. The whole thing, the way it's shot, the animation, it's just chilling. For me, it was Lovecraft at its best. I absolutely adored The Mill at Calder's End. A+ for me on that one. That was easily my favorite. What about you?
Yeah, I didn't love that one. I mean, I appreciated what they were trying to do, and I appreciated that they were trying to do something different. I did enjoy it. I think I'm probably,
the effects alone I thought were fantastic. When the ghost demon thing shows up, and how he dispatches it, and how that it did all, I just thought it was so cool. Very smart, very ingenious.
Again, I liked it. I just wasn't as impressed by it as you were.
Because you know what we're talking about.
Apparently not. I mean, the ones I liked. I liked. I was a fan. I thought Timothy was pretty effective. The one of the creepy kid and the creepy giant bunny. I thought were obviously,
Yeah, so that's the one where
kids.
the kid's watching the children's show and the babysitter wants to put him to bed, and all of a sudden the cartoon or the kid's little bunny thing comes to life.
Yeah.
So that one I'm a little wrapping my head around because she clearly sees the bunny, right?
Yes.
But later on, the bunny's not there. The way they do it is that it's in the kid's head.
Right.
So was it there?
I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe it's like a ghost or a demon or something. Maybe it's possessed the kid. I don't know.
Maybe it's a manifestation thing that he's able to create.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I went back and forth on that one because I felt like that had the most opportunity to be terrifying, and it kind of petered out a little bit for me. But I still enjoyed it, and I gave that one a B-.
Yeah, I liked it. I'd probably say it was a B for me, but it was definitely as far as the most atmospheric, and I liked the way it was shot. So yeah, it was a cool little thing. And I also liked. I guess I was Ghost Train. I thought was pretty cool. Granted, not a whole lot happens with it, but I kind of like the build that. At first, I thought the two older guys, I thought they were like the parents, and the kids were off doing their own thing, and then you realize that these are them grown up, and kind of how it all comes together. I thought it was pretty effective. Not real gory, not a whole lot to it, but I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I give that one a solid B too. I like Ghost Train a lot. I agree with you on that. I like the just how it was shot. I enjoyed the setup. I love the set design, I guess is what I'm trying to say, of this rundown amusement park and this ghostly apparition skeleton mechanical thing at the top. And I really like that. My thing though is, and maybe I guess I get to the fact that that's not the point and it may have ruined it, but I was dying to know what was inside that damn thing.
Yeah.
But that's part of the success because they don't show it to us. All we do is we see that kid is still alive, maybe, or is a ghost, or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one as well.
Yeah. On the flip side, and I apologize, I can't remember which one this was called. I think it was called Crazy for You. Was that the one?
Yep.
With the serial killer with the polka dots? Is that the one?
That's it. The guy is actually in Legends of Tomorrow. He plays,
yeah. He plays
Rip Hunter.
Rip Hunter, yes, thank you. The most comic book name ever. I thought it was funny. I thought it was cute. Granted, it was it was supposed to be kind of a horror comedy, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I thought the performance
stuff like Shaun of the Dead. You're not a fan of that stuff?
Well, no. I am a fan of Shaun of the Dead. I just think that most horror comedy, it doesn't turn out very good. Like Teeth, which was not good. Well, no, it's not good. I thought the performances were game. I thought the jokes were pretty funny. I thought every time we saw the polka dots and he'd kind of, I go kill this guy. I thought it was pretty good. It was had a very British sensibility with a very kind of morbid twist at the end. So I enjoyed that one as well.
Yeah, that was my second favorite out of the group. I gave that one a B+. I really enjoyed Crazy for You as well. It was fun.
Yeah. Now, this one now Roid Rage. Okay. So
Yeah.
this is, Roid Rage was terrible. Was so bad for like the first, and it was. I think it's the longest short in the whole thing, which irritated me.
Certainly felt like it.
Yeah. But here's the weird thing. So it's terrible, terrible, terrible. Can't wait for it to end. Can't wait for it to end. And then when it turns into a little bit of a movie trailer about the guy in Roid Rage, like then I started to cut a little slack because then it seemed like it was something out of Grindhouse. But yeah, but that was Roid Rage was by far the absolute worst one. It's about a guy who has a demon or some kind of monster living in his butt, and then he has it eat prostitutes while they give him stuff to his butt.
I know. It was like the guys that did Hobo with a Shotgun are they got all loaded and tried to think of the most disgusting thing to do. Like Human Centipede, right? That was the whole story behind that.
Right.
And I feel, that thing was ponderous. All I could think of was that Casey Kasem, clip. It's ponderous, man. It's just ponderous. I really just, I couldn't wait for that thing to end. And when the trailer portion of it came out, I was like, is this really, are they going to make a full film out of this? Are they really going to do that? And it's I get that it's Gonzo, right? And they're just trying to go as crazy as they can. And then maybe the whole novelty, they're winking at us the whole time, but it also, Matt, it easily had the weakest acting of the bunch.
Oh yeah,
maybe that's part of it, right? It's supposed to have that whole low budget, we don't know what we're doing type of feel to it. But no, I'm sorry, it just didn't work at all. That was easily the flattest for me, and I could not wait for that to end. So no going Roid Rage for me.
Yeah, that would skip. If you're watching skip Roid Rage, just go right straight past it.
And I like that kind of crazy kind of exploitation Gonzo stuff, man. I like that stuff.
Yeah,
it's just, but for this, it just horribly executed, and it didn't work. And I don't like the whole crappy computer animated blood shooting stuff as it is, right? I mean, It always looks really cheap and cheesy to me. And again, maybe that's all part of what the effect and what they're going for here, but no, thank you.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, and then the only other one, I mean, I know I think there's 4 more here. I mean, Feeder. Now, Feeder is the one with the people who live in the apartment complex, and the guy is feeding something to an entity, like animals to an entity on his floor, correct?
Yeah, I don't know if it's some kind of dimensional portal. It starts with like a little mouse, then a large rat, and then a cat, then a dog, and exponentially things go off the rails from there.
You can guess where it's going from there, but yeah, it's basically it's this guy. He's a musician. He's a struggling musician. He lives in this apartment, and he sees a picture of a mouse scratched onto the floor, and he puts the mouse there, and it's sucked in, and he gets hit with inspiration, and he starts writing great songs. And then every day the animal gets bigger. Then it's a rat, then it's a cat, then it's a dog, and it's really about him going through it. And then you find out that everybody else in the apartment complex, his neighbor who's a writer and his other neighbor who's a painter, they're getting the same kinds of things. And while he's unwilling to put in even a dog, some people are willing to put in people. And it goes from there. Yeah,
it's too bad too that there wasn't like a vegetarian interdimensional monster.
Like
now I want a pineapple.
Now you will bring me portobellos. I demand something meaty.
Yeah, I'm with you. Feeder I thought it was okay. I gave it a C+. I like the twist, if you will, at the end that I think we pretty much know is coming. But still, I think that when the outlines of whatever animal it wanted next would appear, I thought that was really well done. I thought that was nice and creepy. So
yeah, and all I could think of while that was happening was that Simpsons line where they're talking about the escalation of cartoon. It goes, when they're making Poochie, it goes mouse, cat, dog. I'm like, how do you not know what's coming next? It went mouse, cat, dog.
All right, so you didn't share your thoughts then. There's a couple left, Matt. I'm curious what you thought about Horrific, which is the Chupacabra one. Mm-hmm. Awake, which is the kid that can't sleep, and then the Never Tear Us Apart. So run those down.
Horrific. This is a horror comedy, but this is one I thought was a lot less effective. It was more slapsticky. Probably trying to go for more for a kind of a rainy kind of thing. But it didn't really work. I mean, you got this redneck guy. He's in a trailer. He's boiling Twinkies for some reason and drinking beer. And he gets attacked by a chupacabra, and it's a lot of physical comedy of him running around in his underwear trying to fight it off. Kind of gory. I mean, it was fine, I guess, but I mean, it was weak and forgettable. Like, in fact, until you even mentioned it, I couldn't remember what the name of that short was.
Horrific. So, yeah. All right.
And then for Awake, again, I thought it was a cool idea. Again, creepy kid. He's obviously got talking to somebody. He's violent. He's not sleeping. But I just thought the execution wasn't great. I think there wasn't enough kind of background to kind of pull you into it. I don't know, the characters and the actors. It was just too short to kind of pull me in as far as what was going on.
Yeah, I wonder if this actually would have benefited from being expanded.
Yeah.
And I think it would have added a little more to the mystery. Is the kid possessed, or is he just delusional because he hasn't slept?
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that could have benefited the most from some expansion. So I give that one a B-. I gave the Chupacabra a horrific one too. I give that one a C.
Yeah.
I think I appreciate it, like you said, because of the Raimi-esque qualities to it. But you're right. Overall, it just wasn't as successful. So then finally, Matt, Never Tear Us Apart. We got two guys going up to spend some time together in a cabin. Or
I think they're going to go
hunting.
Yeah, they're going to go visit. They're going to go visit somebody, although it's unclear who they're going to visit. And they arrive in this cabin in the middle of nowhere. It turns out that the cabin is full of cannibals, or the people who live there are cannibals, and they come after them.
Yep. And there's a little twist at the end, is that one of the guys there is. Do we want to say? Well, there's a twist at the end with one of the guys.
Yeah, and stuff happens, and it all gets explained. I mean, again, it was underwhelming. This is what they chose to lead the film off with. So when I saw this, I was like, oh boy, I hope this isn't the starting off on the strongest what they got here.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd probably give it a C-. It was fine, but it was nothing to write home about for sure.
Yeah, I give that one a B- actually, as I did with Awake. Yeah, I thought it was okay. I liked the turn of it, but you're right. So overall, Matt, what'd you think?
Overall, I'd probably give Minutes to Midnight a solid B.
Minutes Past Midnight, let's be correct.
Oh, yeah, excuse me. I'm sorry. Minutes Past Midnight. I would give this a solid B. In fact, I would consider buying this and adding this to the Halloween, viewing marathon of anthology films, along with like Trick or Treat or even the first VHS. So yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. For me, obviously, I think it's worth the price of admission for the meal at Calder's End alone. Mm-hmm. Just go back 2 minutes and you'll see how much I love that. But yeah, I give it a solid B as well. Listen, with horror anthology films that are notoriously uneven, this was stronger than most. So I'm glad we checked it out. I rather enjoyed it.
Yeah. Good job, Minutes Past Midnight. Thank you, Canada, for producing this for us. Thank you.
Yeah, and you can check this out online. It's on YouTube. Yeah, it is on YouTube and iTunes, Amazon. You can stream it, Vimeo, pretty much all your streaming services and on demand. So you can check this out at a reasonable price as well. So if you're looking for something for the horror weekend, check it out. All right. If you had a chance to see it, we'd love to hear your thoughts as always. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, let's take a break, come back, and let's talk about what we think are the 5 best openings to a horror film.
Gas stations have cigarettes.
What about gas? I don't need gas. What do you want? What's so funny?
That's what the other guy said.
Who's the other guy?
The guy who was driving that car back there. The guy who picked me up before you did.
Was that him in the car?
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Couldn't have walked very far.
Why is that?
Because I cut off his legs. And his arms.
And his head.
I'm gonna do the same to you.
Matt, I don't want to cut you off at your knees here, but I'm just going to tell you right now that Jaws is not on my list because I think it's the lazy layup number 1. So this is my honorary 5 best horror openings, not named Jaws. So I did that because I wanted to at least squeeze in another film that may be more interesting. So why don't you go ahead and start things off. Again, we're discussing what we think are the 5 best openings to a horror film.
All right. So I started off. He was the most human.
What is your 5th favorite?
Well, Jim, my 5th favorite is Twilight Zone, the movie. Now, this freaked the hell out of me when I was...
That's a fun pick.
Yeah, 7 or 8 years old when I first saw this. So basically how this starts off, Albert Brooks and Dan Aykroyd driving along on a country road in the 70s, singing to Midnight Special, which is actually a perfect little music selection. Aykroyd's a hitchhiker, tape breaks, and they start playing games to kind of pass the time. As it progresses, they start talking about the Twilight Zone TV show, and then Dan Aykroyd says, "Well, you want to see something really scary?" And then they pull over. Freaked me the hell out when I was a kid, and it was a perfect opening to that movie because once the reveal happens and then the music starts and all that kind of stuff, you're primed for a great little movie.
Yeah, that's a great pick. I got to tell you, we're talking about people who can weave horror and comedy well together. That's John Landis, and he directed that. So, yeah. I really enjoy that. It's a great pick, Matt. It's an honorable mention for me. It didn't quite make my list, but it is a fun one.
And also a very excellent horror anthology, so add it to the list.
There you go. All right, man. My number 5 is The Conjuring. A lot of my films are actually really new for the most part, but the opening of The Conjuring, where we're introduced to Annabelle, for me, is the scariest thing in that entire series so far. All right, that first 5 to 10 minutes for me is terrifying. There's this doll that these kids have in this apartment building, and there's something up with it. It keeps showing up even though they try and throw it away, and they bring in the Warrens and they find out what's going on with this thing. But I got to tell you, man, Juan directs the hell out of that. And the first 5 to 6 minutes of The Conjuring just freaked me out. So that's why it's my number 5. It's worth watching that movie just for that opening.
Yeah, I was reading about this. I cannot remember how that movie opened, so I'm gonna have to go find it and watch it again because I am completely drawing a blank. I guess I should be worried about these memory lapses. This is very unlike me. All right, so my number 4 is an 80s slasher classic. This is Nightmare on Elm Street. So I'm not just talking about the kind of pre-credits thing where they show Freddy creating his glove and all you see it is flames and shadows and all that kind of stuff. But that opening scene, dream scene, where he's chasing Tina through the bowels of that boiler room, freaky as hell with the completely out of sight. It's all wet and sweaty and there's weird imagery like lambs running around and screaming. It was a creepy, frightening opening, and I think that's still probably the most effective part of the entire series for sure.
Sadly, yes. I would agree with that as well. But yeah, that's a good pick. And again, honorable mention for me, didn't make the cut. My number 4, I was shaking my head, Matt, as I was typing this up, thinking, wow, am I really writing this? And I am. It's by Wonder Coon director Zack Snyder. Dawn of the Dead from 2004. The opening of this film, with Sarah Polley, where she's in bed with her husband and their daughter is in the doorway, she looks down the hallway, right? And the kid's just standing there. And then full on attack rushes in, and then she's got to fight her off because the daughter's been turned. She's now a zombie. But I tell you, man, he captures that so perfectly by establishing this idyllic home life, right? Everything is sweet. They're in the suburbs. Everything is wonderful. And then just that little girl, zombified girl, just tears all of that apart. And we're launched into this horrifying new zombie scape. And it's fantastic. It's possibly the most effective thing Snyder's ever directed is that opening 10 minutes of that film. So much promise, Matt. I don't know what happened. But still, the opening of Dawn of the Dead from 2004 is fantastic.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because I liked it so much that I put it as my number 3. But yeah, I mean, I would completely agree with you. I don't even know what the hell Zack Snyder's got it in him, like a Michael Bay. I guess he's got some good scenes in him. But yeah, the first 15 minutes of that with that slow, she's at the hospital, and you kind of get that sense that things are starting to go wrong, and he's kind of building all up that tension. And then, you know, I even like how he slips in sex equals death, where the married couple, they're out, you know, they're having date night and they miss the emergency broadcast coming on the TV to let you know that something's wrong. And then when all hell breaks loose and just the kind of things, she's driving through the neighborhood and city of Milwaukee, and it's just a disaster. Those first 15 minutes, like, I was breathless after watching this. I was like, I cannot wait to watch the rest of this movie. And then sadly, I'm like, okay, when is the rest of what I just saw going to happen? But still, man, it's one of the best opening scenes ever, and maybe even in any movie, and then just horror movie.
Wow, that is a bold statement. All right, that's a good pick, though. I like it. That's good. Not number three, but it's a good pick.
But maybe it's a bold statement just because you've seen everything else he's done. So it's like, man, this was so confident. Maybe I'm just giving you way too much credit here.
Could very well be. My number three is Argento's Suspiria. It's a perfect combination of visuals, lighting, color, and music kind of combined. We have our star, Susie Bannion. She's an American ballet student who's arrived in Munich, Matt. She's enrolled in this prestigious academy, and she's getting to her apartment building, and we see this woman streaming. She's running out of the academy. And then she gets and locks herself in her room, and there's some kind of weird, ethereal, supernatural thing watching her from her windows, and things really go badly for Susie from there. I'm not sorry for Susie, excuse me, from Pat, the other student. Things go really horribly for her. But the way it's set up, I think the best is Suspiria. Why it's so brilliant is because it really is just a nightmare come to life, and his use of color and music and just how he shoots this thing, it's just fantastic. It's gorgeous, but it's terrifying at the same time. He really this is his magnum opus, I think, for most people. And it's stunning and disturbing all at the same time. So, and she meets a horrible, horrible end, but on her way through it, it is just so unsettling, Matt, the whole time. So, when's the last time you saw Suspiria?
God, it's probably been like 15 years since I saw Suspiria.
Oh, you got to check it out again. It's great.
Yeah, it's too bad that Argento proved himself to be kind of a hack after that, you know?
I go back and forth on that. I feel like because he's done a lot of good stuff, and I can almost trace back where things went awry is when Italy cut its, because Italy's filming movie stuff is directly sponsored by the government, so they cut all the funding out of that stuff. So he had like nothing really to work with anymore, and it seems to almost coincide with his descent into, I don't want to use the term hackiness, but it's
mediocrity.
There you go.
Descent into mediocrity.
There you go.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. So my number two is a very recent film. This is probably one of our favorite films of last year.
Oh, it might be my number two as well, man.
It Follows.
Indeed it is.
So when this opens up, young girl it's an idyllic Midwestern American suburban street. She comes running out half naked, basically in heels and a bra and underwear, and she's just running around.
She's got a shirt on. Let's not be total creepers.
Does she have a shirt on?
Yeah,
Does she have a shirt on?
It's loose, but she has a shirt on.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not trying to be creepy, but basically the idea is that she's so scared that she ran out of the house not dressed. But
she had heels on.
Right. Well, maybe that's what was by her bed. You know, she's like, I gotta run. It was kind of ugly, so we really didn't talk to her. But yeah, running around the neighborhood, you know, she's looking behind her. We can't see that there's something after her. You know, her father's yelling at her to ask what's going on, and she's saying nothing and drives off into the distance. And, you know, they show her driving, looking behind her, and then she's sitting on the beach waiting for her fate on the shores of what I assume is Lake Michigan. And then it cuts to the aftermath of her fate, and it's disgusting. And it's probably the grossest thing. It's a bit of a shock in the entire film. So, yeah.
It is a goriest moment in the entire film, which I think is interesting. I think one of the key things, man, and I don't know if I caught this the first time, but since I rewatched it, and I watched the opening again last night just to confirm that when she runs out of the house, right, you hear the door slam close, that metal kind of door, right?
Right.
And when she turns around and looks, you hear the door close again. You hear it open and close again. And then there's a couple, like a 5 Mississippi, when the door opens again and the dad comes out.
Okay.
So there's that little thing where I didn't really. I even getting goosebumps right now. This is one of those films we both adored. It Follows, and I remember when I would just tell people what it was about, I would get kind of creeped out. It is an exceptionally effective. It's probably my favorite horror film of the past 5 years. I would have to say. I don't know. I'm not sure how far back I would go, but I'd probably go pretty far. I love this thing in its use of music by this group, this guy, Disaster Piece. Is it's all this throwback 80s heavy synth stuff that just adds to the creepy factor. I was looking on the I think it was the IMDb page of this, Matt, and there were people saying like how it's a crap film, it's horrible, and the music was just so bad. I'm like, you people do not understand what you're you don't get it. You just don't get it. So that's my number 2 as well. It's a fantastic film. I'm planning on watching it again, Matt, this weekend in anticipation of Halloween.
See, and that's what gets me annoyed about our people, and I say our people as in horror fans, is that you have a very strong split where people who kind of like that atmospheric, scary, kind of tense stuff versus people who wanted to see a lot of blood and torture or whatever. And when something like It Follows says this movie is great, or even like The Witch, people were saying it was great, then a certain kind of horror fan, they go and they see it and they're like, it's just not what they wanted, and they just go out and just blast the hell out of the film. Don't listen to those people, A, but B, at least give these things a chance because they are really, really good films in and of themselves.
Yeah, I consider them the Saw contingent. That's the Saw horror class. Right? That's that group. That's what they want. They want suffering and they want violence and blood, right? They don't appreciate the atmospherics, the stuff that's truly terrifying. The scariest thing you're ever going to see is the thing you can't see. And that's what I think one of the reasons why It Follows is as successful as it is.
They just don't appreciate suspense, man.
Yep.
Poor souls. All right, so my number... What'd you say?
They must hate The Shining. Sorry.
So, all right, so I'm with you. The real number 1 answer to this is Jaws. That's the real answer. And we'll talk about it a little bit about honorable mention, but we can't lay it up here. So I went with... I went back and forth on this, but I went with The Ring from 2002.
As did I.
Did you? Okay, very good. We are on the same page here. So I mean, the way Verbinski kind of just lays out, he puts out all the exposition of the 2 girls explaining what's going on, and then just kind of builds after they watch it in the 7 days and all that stuff. It is a creepy exercise in slow tension. He just ratchets that up. And then I know it's not technically in the beginning of the film, but when you get that brief little flash of the aftermath of Amber Tamblin's corpse in the closet, that was creepy as hell. So yeah, it's a great recent example of a horror movie opening.
I agree entirely. It's my number 1 as well. Man, I haven't seen this thing since I first bought the DVD, 10 years ago? 12 years ago. So that's another one too. I was thinking about revisiting this weekend because I want to try and stuff some stuff in there. But it is absolutely terrifying. Verbinski does such a great job of setting that all up and just toying with you and ratcheting up the suspense until the big reveal and Tamlin suffers her fate. But it is, that's another one too that just freaks you out. It is fantastic. It is that's genre filmmaking at its absolute best. Just not excise genre. That's just filmmaking at its absolute best, the beginning of The Ring. I agree entirely. All right, so what do you have for some honorable mentions? And obviously we both think Jaws is that poor, ill-fated final swim.
Poor Chrissy. All she wanted to do was go skinny dipping and get laid. That's all it was. And it just didn't work out for her.
Again, you don't really see the shark, right? It's just her getting tugged.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And that's why it's so effective, because her reaction is so... It kind of vacillates, with the terror and the pain and the kind of like exhaustion. Like it is just upsetting to watch that. Again, Simsbury Library letting me check this stuff out when I was like 6 or 7 years old. I had to leave the house when I saw that come on. I had to go walk outside. It freaked me out so much. Stuff I shouldn't have been watching, but it was the 80s. What do you want?
Yeah.
So my honorable mentions, Scream.
Yep.
Granted, it's become kind of a cliche. It's kind of become active, but at the time, it was very groundbreaking. And biggest star getting killed in the first few minutes. They kind of set out all the rules. Really effective. Night of the Living Dead, the original, just because I love "They're coming to get you, Barbara" is one of my favorite lines in any horror film. Halloween, just the way Carpenter shot it all from first-person perspective, and you can actually see it through the eyes of the mask the whole time, which I thought was pretty effective. That kind of tunnel vision kind of makes it even more effective because you can't see really what's going on.
It's like a short film in a film.
Yeah. And then going out on a limb here, I actually like the beginning of the Friday the 13th remake. It kind of set the tone. I know you didn't like the Friday the 13th remake as much as I did, but
yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, you thought it was okay. I enjoyed it, but I really don't like the original Friday the 13th. I think they're pretty stupid. So like, I thought this was actually kind of all right, and I enjoyed just the kind of setting it all up. Boobs and bad teenagers and giant indefensible guy. Indestructible guy. He's going to kill all of them with a machete. And thumbs up.
There you go. All right, for me, Matt, I had Scream as well, like you said. I had the Beyond, Full Cheese Beyond, where there's a warlock who is chained in the cellar of this hotel, and they whip him with chains, and then they throw acid on his face, and that's what lends this hotel to being one of the gates to hell, one of the 7 gates to hell, is when this guy is killed there. So that's a really creepy one. The Hitcher, Rutger Hauer and C. Thomas Howell in the car. Man, you're on the road, you're driving, but you've never been more isolated and alone and trapped than you are with Rutger Hauer in that car. 28 weeks later, not 28 days later, but 28 weeks later, a really sharp, scary sequel. This time we have, is it Robert Carlyle? And he's the zombie apocalypse is out there, and these people are hunkered down in this house. And they're not zombies technically, right? But I think they become more like zombies in the sequel than they do in the original film. But they're in the house, and the house gets invaded. The zombies get in, and he gets separated from his wife, and he leaves her and runs to save his own skin. It is terrifying and sad all at the same time. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, with the opening by John Larroquette, where he's reading, and they're really Hooper's really establishing the fact that this documentary-esque feel of this film, and that's why it's as terrifying as it is. Martyrs, the French film of all about suffering, but the way it opens with a girl just running out of this warehouse down the street half naked and sobbing uncontrollably. The Shining, Matt, the most disturbing, not really scary, but the most unsettling opening I think of any film ever made. Just the way it's shot and the music, it sets you up that something's horrible is going to happen. And then finally, the granddaddy of the POV shots before Halloween, and that's Clark's Black Christmas, when Billy is breaking into the sorority house while the Christmas party is happening downstairs.
I have a confession. I have never seen Black Christmas.
You should rectify that immediately. I think Black Christmas is a fantastic film. And you may want to wait, though, because Shout Factory or Scream Factory announced that they're releasing a Blu-ray of that. I have the Blu-ray that was released previously. The transfer is not very good. So I'm really excited to see what Scream Factory comes up with for this, because Black Christmas, Matt, is up there for me for Halloween, for horror slasher films. It's almost Pantheon level for me.
Is it Black Christmas 2 that we get the Beauty of Garbage Day? Is that?
No, that's just Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Oh, okay. I'm getting my slasher Christmas movies confused. Excuse me.
Yeah, Black Christmas is the guy Billy who's hiding in the house and killing all the sorority girls and stuff. So yeah,
fantastic.
Stars Margot Kidder, pre-Lois Lane.
Oh, really? All right,
she's in there, right? And then Olivia Hussey plays our star, though.
Okay.
But I think Kidder's in this, unless I'm crossing things up myself now. All right. Did you have any honorable mentions? What do you think of our list? Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Matt, next week, it's going to be
the slimmest of pickings. Slimmest of pickings.
Ron Howard and Tom Hanks reunite for a series that just won't die. The Da Vinci Code series continues with Inferno. I don't even know if we're going to do a second film next week. Maybe we will. I still want to see Imperium. There's stuff out there. We'll see.
All right.
We'll figure that out. But that's the big show for this week. Check us out. Shoot us an email. As I said, feedback@thefirstrun.com. We're on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, thefirstrun.com itself. We will no longer be on Vine much longer.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody will.
Nobody will.
So that's a big show for this week. I'm going to take an extended break, Matt. Let me give you a trivia question, though. You ready? And it's horror theme.
Okay. Do it.
All right, here we go. And what killer animal was 2007's Rogue about? Did you see Rogue?
No, I didn't.
I'll give you a clue. It's Australian. And here are your choices. Is it about a bear, a snake, a crocodile, or a shark?
All right, so if it's Australian, it's probably either a crocodile or a shark. But I'm going to go with crocodile because I feel like a shark would be just too much of a layup from Jaws. So crocodile.
It is indeed a crocodile. Congratulations.
Yeah!
You actually didn't know it for once, too. Good job.
Yeah.
Rogue's actually pretty entertaining if you haven't seen it. It's
All right,
not bad.
Obviously, I'm not. All right, I'll check it out.
All right. So that's a big show. We're going to take an extended break, as we said, and we'll see you all soon. Adios. Yeah. Don't get too scared. And never go back, Jack Reacher. Never. Never go back.
Never go back. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Boy, this is fucking ponderous, man. Ponderous, fucking ponderous.